Hey everyone, welcome back. It is Igon. Thanks so much for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. In today's video, we're going to go back through Saturday's matchups. We're going to go through, break it all down very briefly, and then we're going to get you set, and I'm going to make my predictions for who I think is going to win CDL Paris on Championship Sunday. Real quick note, as soon as this is over, at night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Icon Nation YT right there on Twitch, I'm going to take the championship. I'm going to break down every single map. So make sure you're following me there if you want a little bit more insight into which team won. And without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's bring up our bracket. Let's talk through my predictions and what ended up happening on Saturday. So to start off here, we started in the top right-hand corner. The first match of the day was New York versus Atlanta. And in this one, I had Atlanta winning, which is why I put them as the first team through down underneath. And that's what ended up happening. So it was a 3-2 victory, although it was close, right? But we've said this for a few events in a row now, that if you want to beat Atlanta, good luck doing it in map 5. And then that applies to round 11 in map 5 also. But this ended up going to map 5, and then Atlanta won 6-4, and they're just clutch, right? On Arklov, this one was, they just clutch up, and when their backs are against the wall, they just come through. Real quick notes, if we're just kind of looking at kill deaths overall, starting with New York, this was not the same Mac that we saw yesterday against OGLA. Remember, yesterday, New York was led by Mac and Accuracy had a 0.7 today. Temp had a 0.92. So the slaying wasn't quite there the same way it was yesterday. Now, of course, yesterday's opponent was a little bit easier, but I was looking to see what those two would do in this matchup, and it didn't go quite as well. When you're looking at the other side of things, Major Maniac had a 1.27, Abizi had a 1.1, which is really good for him because he's kind of been struggling a little bit. A couple things just to kind of point out here is that Celium and Simp, who are largely renowned as probably two of the best players in the game, definitely on their roster, they both went negative. So Celium had a 0.98, Simp had a 0.96, and they were still able to beat New York. So that just says about, or talks to, the diversity that you can have with the Atlanta roster. Whereas I know Chicago's not in this, but like if Envoy doesn't play well for Chicago, they're probably going to be on the edge of winning, right? I don't want to say that they're going to lose, but it'll be pretty close. So Atlanta made it through that one. Moving on, we went across over to the other side of the bracket, and this one I got wrong. After what Dallas did yesterday to London, they looked super impressive. I thought this is the time that they're going to show up. Even in my power rankings, I had Dallas. I don't know. I believed in Dallas. I thought that they were going to win this, and that's not what happened. So they came out. It was a 3-1 victory for Florida. They won the Gunrunner Hardpoint. They won the Ramaza S&D. They barely dropped the Hackney Domination. Then they barely won the Azir Cave Hardpoint by 10. So even though it was close, they still pulled through and they still made it happen. A couple things, just if we're kind of looking at kill deaths overall, because I don't know, I like to go back and just kind of see how each player did. If we're looking at Florida, Skies, 1.5 KD. We've talked about him. It seems like 15 videos in a row now, we've been talking about how well Skies has been playing. Aside from him, Awakening had a 1.37. Pharaoh had a 1.28. Frosty and Havoc were a little bit sub 1, but they play such a different role. They're so fast, always making plays around the map, that's to be expected from them. When you look at Dallas, this was a little bit disheartening if you're a Dallas fan. So Hugh had a 1.0, but Clayster had a 0.8. Krim had a 0.76. Illy had a 0.82. Shotzi had a 0.9. So 4 of the 5 players were negative, and the player that wasn't negative was just barely above 1. You can see my dog back here eating her food right there. I didn't really even notice that. But anyways, so Florida made it through. So that means in our matchup here, we got to go ahead. We got to take Dallas out. We got to put Florida through. So Florida's the first team through from Group A. That puts Dallas into the losers bracket final. After that, next matchup here was Toronto versus OGLA, and first of all, off the get-go, the 250-49 victory on Hackney Yard, that's the worst hardpoint we've seen all year. And it just seems like this is why people don't quite believe in OGLA, because sometimes they just don't show up. Ramaza Search and Destroy 6-3. Gunrunner Domination was a little bit closer, 165 to 150. But if I'm looking at the kill deaths here, for the first time in the last few tournaments, Slasher had a 0.5. TJ had a 0.59, Chino 0.75, Dashy rebounded a little bit, had a 0.9, but still that's not enough to win in this league, and Kenny had a 0.73. They were absolutely awful. When you look at the other side of things, Bance 1.4, Cammy 1.5, CleanX 1.26, Methods 1.7, Metals 1.3. It was just a nightmare for OGLA. This is absolutely the worst that we've seen them look. I would have to think that in my power rankings that are going to come out after CDL Paris is over, they're going to take quite a hit here. So this matchup here, OGLA Ultra, I had Toronto winning, so we're good there. Next matchup was back across losers bracket semi. Over here on the left-hand side, we had Paris versus London. I had London winning this one also, and they did win 3-1. So a little bit of a rebound for London. It wasn't flawless, but Azir Cave Hardpoint, they won by 100. Petrograd S&D, they barely lost in a round 11. And then Hackney Dom, they won by 10. Hackney Hardpoint, they won by about 70. And I'm a little bit surprised to be seeing London losing these S&Ds because that's what they looked so good in the past. One thing I'll say about London is that Wuskin played super well in this matchup. He had a 1.5 KD. Dylan was better. Dylan's kind of that player that we look to. If he plays well, London's probably going to do pretty well. Zero hasn't quite recovered. He's not playing and slaying the same way that he was at the last tournament. He had a 0.9 in this matchup. But when you look down underneath here with Paris, it just, I don't know. I mean, they were close in some of these, but they never really threatened. So this is now, 3 tournaments in a row where Paris has gone 0-2 and been knocked out. It's just not looking all that great for them. I don't know where they go from here. Luca played well. Dens played okay. But Kismet negative, Shocks negative, Zed 0.76. It's just not there for him right now. We'll see if they can make a roster change and kind of go through something, but it's getting close. It's approaching the end of the year, and if you're going to shake things up, now's probably the time to do it. As we go back across on the other side, we had New York versus Toronto here, and I picked New York. That's what ended up happening. New York won 3-1. They dropped the Ramaza Hardpoint by 50, then after that, won the Ramaza Search and Destroy 6-2, won the Gunrunner Dom by 7. It was super close, as was the Gunrunner Hardpoint. They only won that by 21, but they were able to get it done. Mac and accuracy, this is what we were looking for. They led their team along with Zuma. They all had a 1.2, 1.1, 1.1. And if you're looking up above, Methods played well, but nobody else from the Toronto roster matched what they were able to do against OGLA. So New York went through, which means New York is going to match up as we predicted with Florida in the first matchup here on Championship Sunday. So the winner from Group A matches up with the winner of the losers from Group B. So the winner from Group B is going to match up with the loser from Group A, which is the last one we have to talk about, which would have been Dallas versus London. And of course, Dallas won this one also. So I have Florida here just because I predicted them to lose the first round matchup, but Dallas is through. So the only thing that I had wrong on day one is I thought Dallas would win the first matchup and Florida would end up losing or winning the losers. So just a little bit backwards there. But as we go ahead and go into our semifinal matchup, we have to predict Florida versus New York. We have to predict Atlanta versus Dallas. I'm super excited for this. I can't wait to see what happens. So, first matchup of the day, Florida versus New York. Even though New York has been playing much better, they looked pretty decent against Atlanta. They looked really good against a tough Toronto team that has been playing everybody super well as of late. I'm going to go through with Florida. I don't see how you can pick against them right now. The way they've been playing, of course, they smoked Paris on day one, but what they were able to do against Dallas in day two, that first matchup, they just look unbeatable. Skies, again, 1.5 KD, Awakening 1.4, Pharaoh 1.3. They just look like whenever they match up with another team that has fairly fast SMGs, gets around the map fairly quickly, they end up winning that matchup. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to put Florida through here. I do think it'll probably be like a 3-1. I wouldn't be surprised if New York took a map, but with that, I have Florida. I have confidence in Florida. So we're going to go with them there. Underneath, Atlanta versus Dallas. So this is a tough one, right? When it comes to this, this is one of those decisions that I've been going back and forth with, even as far as a couple of weeks ago. My last power rankings that came out, a lot of people said, how could you put Dallas over Atlanta? And these two teams just always go back and forth, so it's very fitting that they end up matching up together again. What I'll say is that in the two scenarios, if you're Dallas, it can't go a game 5. So you have to win 3-0, you have to win 3-1. Those are your only two options because you're not going to beat them in a game 5. It's just really hard to do. So you have to think, can Dallas beat Atlanta 3-0? Can they play 3 maps, beat them 3 maps? The way that they're playing right now, especially how they faced up against Florida, I'm not sure that I believe that. I just feel like even like today when Simp and Celium had a sub-average, a below-average matchup, they still won because they just have other playmakers that can step up and get things done. So I just have right now a little bit more confidence in Atlanta. So I'm going to give this victory to Atlanta, which is going to set up our final between Florida and Atlanta. And coming into this one, I'm really interested to see what Florida does in that semifinal against New York, because remember, we're only a couple events away from Florida really not looking all that great. Now, things have been totally different since Awakening came into the lineup, but do you believe, do you have that trust in Florida that they're able to come through and win another championship here? Based on that, what they've done recently, when they beat Chicago, beat Dallas, beat Atlanta, they beat Paris, they beat Dallas again, they've just shown that they're kind of above everybody else right now. And I think that this will be very close, but I just feel like with Celium and Simp not having the best of days yesterday, I just think that Florida's going to end up winning again. And I think that they're going to cement themselves as the best team in the league. So I'm going to put Florida through. Again, I wouldn't be shocked if Atlanta wins, if it goes a map 5. I'm interested to see if Florida can still win a matchup against Atlanta if it goes to that map 5. Florida has looked really good in Search and Destroy, so we'll see if they can do that again. I'm hoping it goes to map 5 here because I want to see if they can clutch up and they can go from there. If Atlanta wins, I will not be shocked at all because it just seems like when their backs are against the wall, normally they show up and they end up coming through. So I have Florida winning this. Again, comments this video, let me know down below, what are you guys thinking? Who do you guys have winning? I'm always interested to see what you guys have going on tournament days, so put them down below. Go follow me on Twitch, so at IconNationYT. As soon as the finals is over, I'm going to go live. I'm going to break down the finals. We're going to talk about why whichever team ended up winning, so make sure you go follow me there. Subscribe if you haven't already. I put out brand new videos breaking down the CDL every single day. And with that, guys, thanks so much for checking out another episode. Enjoy Championship Sunday of CDL Paris. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.